Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. This is part 3 for today for Wednesday, July 31st, 2013. I'm going to shift gears here towards basically spying, what the establishment calls surveillance. Also, I'm going to get into some transhumanism and a little bit of eugenics. So, government knows best. White House creates nudge squad to shape behavior. The federal government is hiring what it calls a behavioral insights team that will look for ways to subtly influence people's behavior, according to a document describing the program obtained by FoxNews.com. Critics warn there could be unintended consequences to such policies, while supporters say the team could make government and society more efficient. So we know about the brain mapping project, and anything that's on the surface is quickly going to be swiped away as a conspiracy theory, and you're looking too far into it. But it's just stuff that you don't know, that's off the books, or is on the books, that is not talked about and put in the articles that you should be seriously concerned with. Obviously, such as geoengineering, and somebody's paying for it. If it's not being done privately, it's being publicly funded. But silent sound, wireless frequency towers, the effects of those, the effects of cellular phones, basically the effects of electromagnetic frequencies and televisions, and that LCDs, and the government knows about this, but they don't ever really talk about it. So a lot of times stuff like this is a diversion, but for whatever it's worth, while the program is still in its early stages, the document shows the White House is already working on such projects with almost a dozen federal departments and agencies, including the basically Department of Health and Human Services, thing called the Department of Death and Dehumanizing Services, and the Department of Agriculture, which is basically the petrochemical industry, which dumps chemical waste products onto your food. Says here, behavioral sciences can be used to help design public policies that work better, cost less, and help people to achieve their goals. So it says here that the document was emailed by Maya Shankar, a White House senior advisor on social and behavioral sciences. So it says here that the idea is that the team would experiment with various techniques with the goal of tweaking behavior so people do everything from saving more for retirement to saving more in energy costs. This is, of course, has to do with Agenda 21. And if you've all seen, or if you've seen all of the futuristic movies, they all include basically most of the people living in squalor and feeling good about it and feeling altruistic about having basically a ruling elite, a minority of elite, that basically eat all organic food, basically live a separate life, like that movie In Time. They're literally have different segments, richer to richer, that are gated off from each other, different worlds. So the document praises subtle policies to change behavior that have already been implemented in England, which has already has a behavioral insights team. One is how to get late tax filers to pay up. And they go on there and talk about sending letters that indicate a social norm. 9 out of 10 people in Britain pay their taxes on time, resulting in a 15% increase in response rate. So what this has to do, again, was about legitimacy of authority. Their authority is not legitimate. Most people agree with paying taxes only because they don't want to resist it. My pitch is, or my proposal is, well, okay, if we lived in a democracy and we were really free to do what we wanted to, then if people really supported this government and supported this system, they would voluntarily pay taxes. But the fact that the big elephant in the room, the gun or the IRS, is threatening to knock down your door and shoot you and kill you if you don't pay taxes to support this government, this free government, then it's not exactly free, which means that their power, their authority over you is illegitimate at that particular point if they have to use the threat of force to collect these taxes. So I'm going to leave it with this, and this should basically show you, talking about futuristic movies and stories. But this Richard Thaler told Fox that the new program sounds good. I don't know who these people are or who would not want such a program, but they must be either misinformed or misguided. So his job is to misinform you. The goal is to improve efficiency and effectiveness of government. Because the government, who has a quadrillion dollar debt, they waste so much, i.e. funding terrorists, propping up dictatorships, they care about waste now. All of a sudden, they want you to insulate your attic, as they talk about up here, for energy conservation, but they're talking about using scientifically collected evidence to inform policy designs. And of course, this is coming from the experts. So this is the scientific corporate dictatorship that I was talking about. The only alternatives I know are hunches. That's your gut intuition that tells you when things are wrong, like mother's intuition. Tradition, that's what we used to have. Now we have a synthetic culture. We don't really have any tradition at all. And ideology, that's you independently thinking based off, your philosophies, your morals, either left or right. So basically an individual coming together collectively with other individuals saying, this is going to be good, this is going to be bad for us. But the alternative to that is, of course, letting the scientists and the experts rule over your life, and that's what's better, he says. Researchers implant false memories into mice's brains. It's kind of funny because this has already taken place. That's why I talked about engineering consent on the masses as opposed to fierce censorship. We have soft censorship because most people don't actually think independently, so they just allow the people, the sleeping people, to basically say what they want, because it's not really anything that's coming from them. It's just what opinions that are given to them by the culture industry that make up tradition and culture for you. A team of neuroscientists in the United States, after controlling memory function in the mice's brain, has successfully implanted false memories into them. It was carried out by MIT. So they're trying to control memory function in the animal's brain, allow cells to selectively be turned on or off using light. The mice's DNA was altered to include a light-sensitive protein that activates when the animal forms new memories. They were able to control the mice's memory function in the hippocampus area of the brain by exposing them to flashes of light. Next step, researchers became able to plant faulty memories in the brains of mice as the animals were placed in a chamber where they received a mild electrical shock, causing them to form negative memories about the room. Remember, we're talking about silent sound and talking about alpha wave sleep state. That's what you are when you watch broadcasting television. You're literally in a sleep state. So, also discovered that many of the neurological traces of the planted memories are identical in nature and comparing to those of authentic ones. Says humans are highly imaginative animals, just like our mice. Their averse or appetitive event could be associated with a past experience or may happen to have in mind at that moment, hence a false memory is formed. And this is a bunch of bullshit, because they always say it's going to be used to treat psychological problems such as PTSD and schizophrenia. It's not going to be used for mind control. Harvard creates brain-to-brain interface allowing humans to control other animals with thoughts alone. So they've created a brain-to-brain interface called BBI between a human and a rat. Simply by thinking the appropriate thought, the BBI allows the human to control the rat's tail. This is one of the most important steps towards the BBIs that allow for telepathic links between two or more humans. I've seen this out before, but for some reason it's being recycled. And I always got to throw this out there as if it's not happening. So it says here, which is a good thing for in the case of friends and family, but terrifying if you stop to think about the nefarious possibilities of a fascist dictatorship with mind control technology. So, it stirs up ideas of goose-stepping Nazis, I guess. But really what they don't know is that it's a corporate dictatorship, a global corporate dictatorship that uses science and experts to control the entire globe's thoughts and minds and patterns. So NSA tool, and it's happening, that's the thing. NSA tool collects nearly everything a user does on the internet. So this should not be any surprise to you. The X key score gives widest reaching collection of online data. The analysts of NSA require no prior authorization for searches. They sweep emails, social media activity, and browsing history. There's something very wrong in the UK, among other places as well. From the New Zealand Herald, a new law will require ISPs block objectionable online content by default. Although there is no option to opt out, anyone wanting the filter removed will need to contact their ISP to ask that it be switched off. So it says, worse still, the arbitrator of what is objectionable appears to be the UK government, which scarcely has the potential for some nightmarish Orwellian form of control. This may all sound like the stuff of nutty conspiracy theories, but the reality is that it wouldn't be too much of a reach for the British government to legislate for the removal of the opt-out component of the filter or to deem anti-government websites as objectionable. Google engineer wins NSA award, then says NSA should be abolished. This Dr. Joseph Banu learned that he had won the NSA's first annual Science of Security, or SOS, competition, which aims to honor the best scientific papers about national security in a way to strengthen NSA collaboration with researchers in academia. They honored him for his paper on the nature of passwords. So, and how did he respond? He says here that on a personal note, I'd be remiss not to mention the conflicted feelings about winning the award given to what we know about the NSA's widespread collection of private communications. But it says here that in accepting the award, I don't condone the NSA surveillance. Simply put, I don't think a free society is compatible with an organization like the NSA in its current form. He also said, I'd rather have it abolished than persist in its current form. So there you go. Mega advertising court creating database comparable to NSA. So we've mentioned or talked about, or it's been brought up in these GGN reports since I started, about advertising companies and insurance agencies running the world. Well, we know advertising, one of the main things besides public relations, which is basically whatever Bernays says, public relations replace, that word replace, propaganda, because he says the Germans gave it a bad name. I find that funny because a lot of the German propaganda was actually based off truth. And that's the thing, they don't want propaganda based off truth. It has to be there to misinform you and disinform you. So they call it public relations. We know advertising agencies have a lot of information targeting. That's where the whole Minority Report type stuff, targeted advertising, comes from. Privacy experts think that the merger of the world's two biggest advertising agencies could create a massive database of information about their consumers. Well, you think? Moscow subway to use devices to read data on phones. The head of the police for Moscow's subway system has said stations will soon be equipped with devices that can read the data on mobile telephones of passengers. So not a big surprise. Here in the U.S., they're actually spraying biochemical agents in trains to unsuspecting, well, most people aren't suspecting because they're too busy on their stupid phones to pay attention that they're being sprayed on the subways. But this is a little bit older. Bank to spy on customers via cell phone location tracking. Barclays is doing it, and they're going to track their customers in the name of preventing fraud. Then we have a new court ruling makes it easier for police to track your cell phone from July 31st. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruling this week will make it easier for police to track your movements through your cell phone after the court decided police aren't required to obtain a search warrant to track you. Also, they can go through your phone when they confiscate it. And that's what they're there for, to track you and spy on you, but people call that progress. Apple's new iPhone has fingerprint sensor. This is new. It says examination of Apple's latest beta software has revealed a folder labeled biometric kit. So yeah, fingerprint biometric scanner on your smartphone. But then I just typed it in, and I actually found it from July 23rd, 2013, a retinal scanner lock. You can actually get a retinal scanning device that's free that locks your phone for you. To unlock it, you use the retinal scanner. So for people not just that are asleep, but people that are viewing this, that alarm bell should be going off. Wait a minute. If they're downloading software, it means that this thing already has the capability built into it. It was designed for retinal scans. MP wants to outlaw Russian dash cam videos. Remember the individual who traced a flying object in the sky in Russia? He did it from a dashboard camera. In Russia, I found this out, or I learned that these dashboard cameras are very popular because of corrupt police there in Russia, among other places, right? So it says here, the head of the lower house said that posting videos from a vehicle's dashboard camera online violates the Russian constitution and should be just like the ISPs, basically being able to spy on you, and you have to go to them to opt out in the UK. It's all in the name of stopping porn and that. But it goes on here, it says here that this roundtable is actually responsible for protection of children from the hazards of the internet, obscenities, right? But then they said here they decided to go beyond that. Well, that's what they do. That's how they set the precedent. And I still have more articles, so I'm just going to stop here and continue in part 4. I'll probably have like 6 videos today. This is insane, but whatever. This is GGN. I'm Darko. Thank you.